an inclusive neighborhood which would genuinely call itself a community, but focused on values for equality, justice, intimate, warm social relations, which is actually what I think, and my sociology is about this, what I think the idea of community is really a utopian imaginary. It's a way of expressing our longing for this much more egalitarian, socially just kind of society. And of course it's somewhat of a myth, because people who use that term very often, the last thing they want is an egalitarian society, the last thing they want is a fully democratic society, and their notion of justice is very partial. It comes and goes, the ruling elite's notion of justice. And as you know, sometimes what's utterly unjust, such as the invasion of Iraq or the invasion of other countries, is done in the name of justice and freedom and so on and so forth. So I'm very skeptical of the way in which these sorts of terms are used by the ruling elites. But at a local level, people, it seems to me, and this is the important thing about the history of Chapeltown and Hay Hills, there have been consistent efforts by local people to create a more positive, fair and inclusive kind of society. These efforts are continually wrecked by people who want to manipulate the political process for their own narrow sectarian ends, and therefore there's an ongoing struggle, really. And there were people, for instance, who pointed out, when community cohesion began to be the talk of the town after the 2001 riots, it's interesting how riots provoke a resurgence of efforts by the ruling elites to ameliorate the problems that the riots spoke to, and they always do it in the name of community. They always say, we must restore community, utterly neglecting their own parts in segmenting communities, in promoting ethnic particularism. They then redevelop the community rhetoric, and of course there are people who are very skeptical of that. I'm skeptical of it.